Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I am Chatty. This is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I am chatting away madly about what I have been reading in March. Now, normally I like to do this in 2 videos because it just eases the pressure and the burden, but life has just been chaos and it hasn't happened. So we're going for it in one big go and we will see what happens. But I'm going to apologise in advance. I might not remember things as well as I usually do when I talk about my books. So good luck to me and good luck to you. It's one shot, there is no editing, chaos can happen. So cheers everyone. Clink, 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 clink. So I was doing Middlegrade March this month. I love reading middle grade anyway, so this was an excellent opportunity, and I did complete all of my middle grade March reads, which is very exciting. But I also had a few other ones that I slipped in here as well, and I was very much kind of sort of a bit mood ready and a little bit wanting to finish off certain things. So I'm going to go through what I have read this month, and I need my tea because I'm going to be talking a lot. Okay, the first book I have to talk to you about was my first book for middle grade March, which was to read a book with a one-word title. And this is Jamie by L.D. Lipinski that I had been wanting to read for a really long time. I was highly anticipating it, and so therefore I didn't pick it up because I was anticipating it so much. I actually read this on the way to London to meet up with a load of other booktubers. And it was an absolutely delightful read. Everything I was hoping for and more in this book. So much heart in here. Some beautiful things around friendship that I wasn't expecting. I felt very angry at points in this book at the way Jamie was sometimes spoken to by grown-ups in here. So there was a lot of learning that the grown-ups went on in this book, and Jamie was so brave. The character of Jamie doesn't put themselves forward. They were quite happy to just kind of go with the flow and not make too much of a fuss about life, just correcting people when they use the incorrect pronouns for them and things like that, and just like little points that, you know, please just do this because this is me and this is how it works. But then Jamie, something happens in here. They're choosing schools. So Jamie has been living their authentic non-binary life for 2 years when suddenly year 6 happens, which is the final year of primary school in the UK. They're 11 and they are going to be going to secondary school, and in the town that Jamie lives, the 2 secondary schools are the school for boys and the school for girls. And being non-binary, Jamie is like, where do I go? I don't fit in these categories. Neither of these schools want me. And having to explore this idea that society doesn't understand non-binary people, doesn't understand, you know, keeps trying to fit everything into a gender binary, and then adults flipping it to be, Jamie, everything can't always be about you. We can't just move the world around to suit your needs. Made me so angry, and it was just handled beautifully in here. There was such a wonderful aspect in here of the friendship of Jamie's friends, but also Jamie having a moment to see that, you know, they're also going to be affected as well, and just taking a step away that, yes, Jamie is also going through big things, but his friends are also going through things as well, and they need, sorry, that was terrible of me, their friends were going through things as well, and they need Jamie to support them too. And so that was beautifully explored in here. And also the way Jamie's parents are, and Jamie's brother is fabulous. So there's some really like important conversations with Jamie and their parents, and important conversations with certain things that Jamie hadn't suspected then suddenly came to light, and it was just done really don't know what the word is, I suppose like sensitively but truthfully. And I think this is possibly something that a lot of families go through when someone in the family is non-binary or trans, having to have these conversations where there might be moments where people do feel awkward and feel worried about upsetting people's feelings, but also have to be truthful about how they see things, and also have to take responsibility for the way they are and certain things that they have done. And there's a really powerful moment in here with Jamie and their parents, and I went from feeling a certain way to feeling another certain way, and I just love it when books make me feel these strong emotions. And I also appreciated that the way the story kind of went, because it would have felt kind of too much for it to have tied everything up. There's still work to be done, but there was a point that was reached that Jamie can feel there's a place for them. So I thought it was done brilliantly, and I'm so excited to read more by L.D. Lipinski. Oh, can't get it on the shelf. It's such an effort. I then have, because this came through, I'd ordered it from the library because I was so keen to get the second book, A Prayer for the Crown Shy. So this is the follow-up to A Song for the Wild Built. It's the second book in the Monk and Robot series. There's no news on whether how long the series is going to be, or if there's going to be many books, but it's a series by Becky Chambers. It's just a couple of novellas that really explores kind of well-being. It's science fiction, and it involves a tea monk and a robot. And I love books where you have different species learning about each other and learning about different ways, and kind of the ideas about what people want from life and all of those kind of things. So I love all of those conversations, and it's definitely kind of a lot about finding yourself, but without it being too heavy. So I think there's a lot of times where humans can feel that maybe they're just going through the motions of life and they've lost their passion for it, and they're not feeling fully authentic, but it's not a big enough thing for them to like make into a big deal, but it's still there. And I think this book kind of like comes in perfectly for those sorts of moments. And I just love this connection between oh, I forgot the name of the robot. I'm so sorry, I can't keep calling you the robot. Mosscap the robot, and sibling Dex, who is the tea monk. And it's just the friendship in here is just beautiful, and I'm always a fan of an awkward story of a AI trying to work out the social manners and acceptable levels of interaction within humans and what is obligatory and what is not obligatory. And there's some really fun awkward moments in here where Dex has a relationship, has an attraction towards someone, and Mosscap wants to know more about what this means and asks very personal questions, and I just found that whole exchange highly enjoyable. But yes, it followed on from the previous book, and just pure joy, pure delight. I love this little duology. If it's a duology, I'm very much open to them being more. We will find out if Becky Chambers writes more or if she does not. Okay, so I now have another book. So it's my second book for Middlegrade March. This is The Swifts by Beth Lincoln. The US version is called The Swifts, the Dictionary of something. I can't remember. I want to say the Dictionary of Lost Words, but I don't think it's that. And it's not telling me in here. But it's The Swifts. This is a middle grade. It is a middle grade mystery. And has a very zany family in it, a very old kind of house, lots of hidden nooks and crannies in here, so if you like that sort of thing. Big sprawling family full of secrets. There is a murder. There is a lot going on in this book. So this was a buddy read that I read with my Guardians of Middlegrade. That is Kelli from Kelli Reads a Lot, Vadania from Bandana Book Mum, no, Tallia from Bandana Book Mum, and Vadania from Vadania Silver Scribe. So this was really fun. We've not read a book, all three of us together. We've kind of done some read-alongy bits differently, but this was one that four of us, because I was reading it too. All four of us together. So this was a lot of fun. We had a thread going on my Discord, Middlegrade Mad Chat, going through the different bits. What I love about this book is Beth Lincoln's way with words. You can clearly tell that she loves words, and just the way she puts them to use in here was highly satisfying. And obviously with all of the characters here being given their names by consulting the dictionary, there is like this love of wordplay throughout the book. I'm going to see if I can find, I didn't mark it out, but there were definitely words that I noted to other people that I particularly enjoyed. Let me see if I can find it. So without wanting to give a lot away, there's a moment where there's a funeral procession and they are making their way through gravestones. And just the way it was described, I just particularly love. They wound between the graves like black floss through crooked teeth. I just enjoyed that vision, that just whole description of that thing. I just found it so delicious. So I really enjoyed Beth Lincoln's way with words. I enjoyed the idea behind the family and the concept of the family, and I found it very intriguing family, a lot of fun. I didn't quite gel with the protagonist. So Shenanigan Swift is named Shenanigan. So they have this joint dictionary, and a name is picked for the child from consulting the dictionary. And usually the name kind of tends to give the idea of what this person is going to be. So it's like you're ruled by the dictionary. The dictionary is deciding your fate. So being called Shenanigan, everyone just expects her to be full of mischief, full of pranks, and she can't help it. That's her name, so that's what they expect from her. So there was this kind of concept of Shenanigan trying to work out, is this truly her or is it not truly her? But I felt slightly that we didn't kind of get that full emotional look-in with that. It was explored, but I kind of felt like Shenanigan could shrug her shoulders about it either way. Like, it didn't feel like she minded too much. It didn't feel like it was stopping her from doing what she wanted to do. So I didn't quite get that emotional drive that I need and that kind of vulnerability. I need there to be a certain vulnerability about the protagonist for me to connect with them. I don't know why that is, but that is what I need. Whereas I felt more of a connection with her sisters. So we have Phenomena, the scientist, obviously. I didn't realise how dark it had got. I just turned the lights on. And we also have older sister Felicity, where the family feel a little bit sad for her because she's got a normal name. But actually Felicity name has also got a meaning. Sort of like bringing joy and harmony, I think, is kind of the meaning behind Felicity. But I felt Shenanigan and Felicity don't get on, and you sort of feel that you're supposed to be more on Shenanigan's side, but I could see where Felicity was coming from, and I could see that Felicity, as the older sister, definitely had kind of a lot more on her plate than she was given credit for, and I could definitely see like her interference was more of a protective thing, because Shenanigan's parents are not around. They are off touring the world, doing grave digging and things like that. Not grave digging, like archaeology or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. My little dormouse was just checking in there. Doing some sort of like discovery thing, travelling the world, sending bits and pieces back to the family or telling them about certain things. I can't quite remember exactly. Like I said, it's been a while, but they're doing that. I do enjoy the family they have with them. We have Uncle Maelstrom. We have... Sorry. I had a phone call coming in. I had to sort of deal with that without stopping the recording, but I managed it. Hooray! Not 2 videos. You also have Aunt Schadenfreude, who is kind of the matriarch of the family and has to call together the family for their annual reunion where the family look for treasure. And at some point during this big event, there is a murder. And then it kind of like has a bit of a, well, who here has done this? And lots of different suspects. And the sisters decide to kind of work together to try and solve the mystery. All the while, this house has got lots of various different things going on in it. There's cellars full of everyone's gravestones. There's secret trapdoors. There's all sorts of bits and pieces, all sorts of shenanigans, one might say, going on. You do get a nice little map of the house of all the different floors there, which is fun. You get to meet sort of more of the extensive family. And you get kind of the idea of like what makes a family. Is it blood? Is it like the bond you share together? Because we have a character in here called Cookie, who is not a servant but a family member, even if their surname is not Swift. So I enjoyed their little core family unit. I enjoyed the wider family. But I definitely agree with what a few other people spoke about in here in terms of like the pacing, because there is a lot going on. So you've got the murder mystery, you've got the treasure hunting, you've got the theme around names and the difficulties kind of like going on between the sisters and other kind of like red herring parts of the mystery going on. And I think there is this overarching theme of a name shouldn't dictate who you are. You do get to choose who you are. And it kind of came stronger and not in different ways. That's not very well explained, but there were moments where it was kind of a strong part of the story and there was moments when it kind of faded more into the background. And I do think it was handled well in certain points. There are some trans side characters in here where it was done very kind of organically as to like the idea of names being explored and you choosing your path as opposed to someone dictating what you should be. So I enjoyed those themes as well, but just the pacing just felt a little bit jumpity. So I am looking forward to reading the next book because this is Beth Lincoln's debut. So I'm hoping like with one book under her belt, she might have like, because of dealing with all of that, then maybe the next one is going to be sort of a little bit clearer and succinct and kind of have the plot a bit tighter together, but still being able to enjoy all of the fun language and the way that she's written also all of these fun characters as well. So I am going to be carrying on with this series. Next, I kind of went away from my plans a little bit. I had wanted to possibly read this during February for Blackathon, although I wasn't specifically following the prompts. I wanted to be reading a lot of books by Black authors. And that is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I've had this for a while. I read The Hate You Give last year. I read On the Come Up before that. And I really wanted to finish reading Angie Thomas's YA books. So this is like the prequel to The Hate You Give. This is the story of Star's father, Maverick. And speaking of names, actually, the names in this book are very important. The way they think about names and why they've chosen names for their children. There's a lot of thought gone into it about, you know, what they're hoping for this child through giving their names. That's actually quite a nice link. Angie Thomas's writing, I always absolutely love. She sucks you right into the story. She makes you feel things for characters. And, you know, this was a very different story. It was really kind of fun to see. I had forgotten certain points in The Hate You Give. So reading this, there were certain characters that kind of came up. And then I wanted to check certain things in The Hate You Give. And then suddenly I was like, oh my goodness, that's that character. Oh, I didn't see that connection. And there's certain things that I liked kind of occurring in here. So that was quite fun. But you really get to see like the struggle of being a teenager in here. and just not rash decisions, but big life-changing decisions, and like owning your responsibility, and what does it mean to be looking after the family. And there's a lot going on in here, which there always is in Angie Thomas's books. There's always kind of like more than one side to something that's happening. And I think the characters definitely explored the difficulties, the accepting responsibility, and learning things about each other and trying to make things as right as possible. But it was really fun to kind of read Maverick's backstory and where he came from. I adore Maverick's mum. She is amazing. There were a few moments in here. There is very much a lot about teenage parenting in this book. Like you get in there straight from the get-go. So there are very kind of like heartwarming moments. There's also moments where, you know, the pain of a baby not sleeping and just breaking your sleep and just knowing that your life is completely different now, but absolutely loving this baby. All of those kind of confusing emotions were explored in here. I did feel there were certain moments where I'm like, can we cut Maverick a little bit of slack here, please? He's a baby and he's got a baby. But, you know, the mamas in here make sure you are raised right and you are doing things correctly. And it does make Maverick pull his socks up and accept the responsibility that he needs to. But also, you know, this family also have his back. And there were some hilarious moments in here with his maternal family and the way they had his back. There was an interesting dinner party at one point. Not dinner party, family meal, like people coming around for like, I think it was Thanksgiving or something like that. And yeah, they definitely had his back, and it amused me quite a lot during that exchange. So yeah, it was a great addition to the world we already have within Angie Thomas's work, and I think something that kind of a lot of teens will definitely be able to relate to certain aspects in here. So yeah, really a fun time, but also a lot of stuff to think about. And that's the one thing I didn't speak about. So it also does look a little bit at gang culture. I am not someone who has any weight with any kind of opinions as to the authenticity of it, but I do feel that you can definitely see how this kind of works, and how youth where you don't feel you've got a lot of opportunities kind of get into the drug dealing scene, and you can kind of see how it happens in here. But it's also kind of looking at what that then means and kind of the fallout behind it. But again, I don't have any authority, I suppose, or any understanding of like how accurate and things that is. That is a area of knowledge that I do not have. So back onto the Middlegrade March. I then read The Secrets of the Sun King by Emma Carroll. So yes, this was a book that I really needed to read because it ticks off a few things for my magical readathon, so it definitely needed to be read before April. So it had been a book that I'd been trying to pick up for a long time and just hadn't quite got to it. And Emma Carroll is an author of middle grade historical fiction that I'd been wanting to pick up for a long time because I'd heard really, really good things about it. And I was not disappointed. Absolutely. Everyone is correct. Her writing is fantastic. I definitely want to read her backlist. She writes middle grade just the way I love to read middle grade. You get an immediate connection with the protagonist. There are hurdles and obstacles to overcome. You are rooting for them. You want good things for them. You're intrigued by the story. There's a lot of heart. You're pulled in. There's a mystery element to it that you kind of want to explore more about. There's a sense of adventure, and there's a really good kind of, you feel very much in that setting of place and time as well. There is a warm family feeling, there is strong friendship feelings, all of which I absolutely love. On top of that, this particular one is looking at the historical event in the 1920s where Tutankhamun's tomb was excavated. So you have an extra kind of mystery added into here. So like alongside the history, something that could possibly be real. but also what is explored in here is this idea of the British coming in and taking what they like from places where it's not actually theirs to take. They just turn up in Egypt and just take a load of artifacts back to Britain. Sorry, Egypt, we're taking them with us. So that is addressed in here, and that is explored in here. And also people's opinion of, you know, when you visit other countries and, like, you know, giving those countries the respect, that is also explored in here as well. So I thought that was all done really beautifully. So yeah, it was a really fun read, so well written. I would definitely be reading more Emma Carroll. I then had another buddy read. Oh, and so this was prompt number 4, a book with animals on the cover, and it has camels on the cover. So next I had a book I feel I have missed out on for Middlegrade March, and I did a buddy read with Tallia from Bandana Book Mum. It was our second buddy read of the month, and we buddy read Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. Now, I went into this going, I feel this is going to be very Marmite. I don't know which side of it I'm going to be on. But I also went in going, Shannon Messenger was like in her 20s or something when she wrote this, like early 20s. And she has commented that she would not have written it the way she wrote it if she was writing it now. So I am bearing that in mind as I read this. However, so I'm not exactly on a particular side. I didn't adore and rave and I need it now, but nor was I like utterly hate it. The writing style's not for me. Certain tropes are not for me. There's a certain amount of things in here that I can absolutely do without. But I was intrigued enough by the plot and the world that I am going to try the second book as well. Not anytime soon, but I'm intrigued enough to keep giving Shannon Messenger a chance to see if the writing improves, and also to see if the intrigue of the story keeps me going. So this book is middle grade. That's what it's classed as. However, both me and Tallia, when we started reading it, we were like, this absolutely reads like YA, because when I read a middle grade, for me, middle grade books, I don't want like, you know, horny teenagers really in my middle grade books. I mean, they're 11 in here, but there's, oh, cute boy kind of vibes going on, and like, oh, I felt embarrassed and I'm blushing when a boy touches my arm. I don't want that. I don't need that in my books. Please don't put it in my middle grade. Thank you. It's ruining the vibe for me because it makes me want to roll my eyes and go, oh dear. So I can cope with that in a YA because I'm expecting it in a YA, and sometimes it's fun and I can get on board. Sometimes it's annoying. In here, it was highly annoying. Highly annoying. I also struggled with some of the characters in here. Sophie, I eventually got, I got on board with Sophie. She was fine. I could root for Sophie. That was okay. Cannot stand Fitz. Massive smugness radiating from Fitz. Not a fan. Sorry. Not enjoyable. Also, he keeps dissing humans, and as a human, find it slightly offensive. The magic is actually science, unnecessary, and makes no sense. It's magic, okay? I don't know who you're trying to kid. It's magic, right? Also, just, I was so peed off all the time at the adults just taking agency away from Sophie and like just telling her, you need to do this, you need to do this, we expect you to know everything, even though we've told you nothing. And it made no sense. And I didn't understand why she was like pulled in for all these tribunals for managing to do things that she had no knowledge of. Like, it made zero sense. And the adulting in here was terrible. All the adults were terrible in this, with the exception of the what's it called? Her telepathy mentor, whose name I have completely forgotten now. I liked her telepathy mentor, and I liked Dex. The doctor eventually grew on me, but other than that, I found them all really annoying. And her foster parents, try harder and do better. I can understand lots of emotion in this, and I can see why it appeals to so many, but there's a lot of stuff that I could do without. It was I could sort of get on board for the ride. I was like, we're just going to ignore these random stuff going on, because I am intrigued about Sophie's past. I'm very intrigued about that. I'm intrigued by the black swans and all of that jazz, and that there is definitely a sense of the things that irritated me about a lot of the adults in this world. There are other adults that believe that is wrong. So I'm intrigued enough about that to continue, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Let me know if you would enjoy my full-on unrestrained rant about certain aspects in here. I've not done a rant for a while, and I do quite enjoy them. I find them quite therapeutic. So let me know if that would be an interest for you. The next book I read is Thunderhead, a book I've been trying to read for, a really, really, really long time. And I should have read it in August for the autumn equinox, but I didn't. But I have now finally read it. And I am so pleased that I picked up Arc of a Scythe again. I really enjoyed Scythe when I read it. I loved Thunderhead. I was just really pulled in by the plot and all the political maneuverings in here, and just really fascinated by this futuristic world where death has been conquered and all the kind of like new technologies and things that are happening, and just the kind of like conversations around mortality and purpose. I found it so interesting. I really enjoy the exploring the characters and their choices and the way they do things in here. There was a lot going on. There were some different storylines coming in. We got some new characters coming in, and we also got to hear from the Thunderhead a lot more. And I really enjoy an AI character, so I really enjoyed listening to the Thunderhead. And this book finished in a way that made me want to pick the next book up straight away. So I have. So all reading plans have just gone out the window, because I am now currently reading... let me get it. Currently reading The Toll. So it just needed to happen. Just how this left. I was like, I need to know what's going on in this world next, how we've left this world, what's going to happen. So we got to see a more expanse of the world. So Scythe is very much like with this particular Scythe sect of apprentices and kind of going through that. This kind of pulled back a bit more, and we got to see the more of the world. So we got to meet these characters called unsavories. We got to meet more of this kind of like more religious-y kind of sect called the Tonists. We got to meet this kind of like interaction of people that deliberately speak for the Thunderhead and have direct dealings with the Thunderhead, as well as the Scythe. And we got a lot more of this kind of like political division between what was called like the new Scythes and like the old guard, and their different kind of like ethics within that. And then there were other things that were mentioned. All the characters from the Scythe were in here, and yeah, we just had more of the world in it, and I just really, really enjoyed it. But I had to finish up a few other books before I plunged into the Toll. I had started picking up some more, some very different things, so just to kind of give myself a little bit of a break from the dystopia. I read my final middle grade book for Middlegrade March, and that is Other Words for Home. And again, this is one that just lived up to all those expectations. It's a novel in verse from a girl called Jude who lives in Syria, but her and her mum leave to go and stay with her uncle in America because Syria is becoming a lot more dangerous. And she's kind of torn because her baba and her brother have remained behind in Syria for various different reasons. So there's a lot of emotion going on because of her brother's political leanings, and just like her dad running his business, and like all these other people from the place that she lived before, like how are they all, and how does she fit into this new world in America where everything is different for her. She speaks a different language. Her cousin kind of looks at her as though she's, you know, uncool and not really going to fit in at school and things like that. But Jude is a really strong character, and she has a very kind of secure sense of herself and who she is, and that she is worth everything, and that she doesn't need to keep her voice down. So she's such a very powerful character. We also meet other characters, and identity is explored in different ways as well. Someone who is, you know, first generation American, but their family is Arabic, and they are treated as though they don't fit in either place. So there's that kind of aspect is looked at as well. So this is an absolutely beautiful book about identity, and I really loved the way the story was told. I really loved the voice and the feeling and the emotions in here as well. This was a fantastic book, and I'm so pleased I've read it. And yes, I do want to own it as part of my collection, which is what I thought would probably happen. And finally, I was able to squeeze in this cheeky little library borrow, which is Heartstopper 5. Entertainingly, usually I read these in one sitting, but I did let this linger over a few days because I kind of didn't want it to finish, and I just wanted to kind of like sit on certain things and just know that I could come back to it. But this, with all Heartstopper, it's an utter joy. We get more Nick and Charlie, we get more of their story, we get their kind of like sense of, so we're very much kind of like following their relationship and them as a couple. What I really enjoyed in this one is they're trying to work out who they are separately, and can they still remain a couple by going there. If they go in different ways, are they still gonna be okay without the other one, and can they do it long distance? So I loved all of that exploration in here. So this, again, we get to see more of their friends and their different journeys. And what I really enjoyed at the end of this one is we have a timeline. And I love that we have a timeline, and we've got the novellas, so This Winter and Nick and Charlie slotted in here. And we also have Solitaire slotted in here as well. So that's quite interesting that it comes, Solitaire kind of takes place in between book 4. So I have now got Solitaire. I've never read Solitaire. So that is the story of Charlie's sister Tori. So I'm very keen to read that one. I don't know if I need to read This Winter first. I'll see how I feel. But yeah, I just love everyone loves hanging out with Nick and Charlie, and we get to kind of spend a little bit of time with some of their other friends, not quite as much as previous ones, but this is very kind of like next steps for Nick and Charlie. There's it's lighter than volume 4. I think volume 4 was very heavy. There was a lot of stuff that needed to be dealt with, but they are very strong together, and it's like the next steps in their relationship as well. Really wonderful, healthy messages about, you know, older teenagers thinking about making their relationships more physical, thinking about having sex. What does it mean for them? What does it mean for their relationship? So all of those conversations happened in here, which I think was really important. And it's really nice that we get to see those conversations with a gay couple, because there are lots of teen books where those conversations happen, but it's always a heterosexual couple. So that was really nice representation to see. I'm sure there are other books out there, I've just not come across them yet, but always really nice to see. Alice Oseman does wonderful healthy relationships in all her books, which is marvellous. So yeah, there we go. That is everything I read in March, and then I did start reading The Toll as well. So I will be wrapping this up in hopefully my week 1 and 2 of April. So you get to hear what I thought of The Toll. But I very much felt like I need to pick this up now. 1, I just really want to. That's the book I want to pick up. But 2, it took me such a long time to finally get around to Thunderhead. It's like, whilst I'm excited about this series and wanting to read it now, I should read it, or The Toll is just going to linger on the bookshelves, and I'm like, yes, and I must read that one. So it is time for The Toll. And that's one of the reasons why I really want to get my series down, so I can be excited and continuing with series rather than going, yes, I must finish it, and they're kind of dotted around the shelves and I'm just not quite getting to them. That's the plan. Do let me know what you read in March. If you've got any thoughts about any of the books I mentioned. Did you partake in Middlegrade March? What was your favourite middle grade you read? You know I love a chat. Happy reading, everyone.